topic, selecting teaching as a profession and the required basic skills. And sir, it is truly an honor for me to be introducing you as a speaker to this gathering. Professor Wani is a multifaceted legal scholar, academician, and administrator of national repute. An alumnus of Kashmir University, he started his academic journey in 1985 as a lecturer at the Faculty of Law, Kashmir University. Thereafter, he joined Aligarh Muslim University as an associate professor of law in the year 1996. In the year 2000, he joined the Indian Law Institute, New Delhi, as an associate research professor. While at ILI, he played a key role in introducing PG advanced diploma courses in newer areas of law, such as cyber law, IPR, corporate governance, and the human rights law. In 2004, he joined Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, Delhi, as a professor of law, wherein he has served twice as the Dean of University School of Law and Legal Studies, IP University. He has also served as a member of the 19th Law Commission of India from 2009 to 2012. His in his academic career spanning over 35 years, he has authored 13 books and more than 80 research papers and counting. He has served as an editor of prominent academic journals, including Indraprasth Technology Law Journal, Religion and Law Review, and Aligarh Law Journal. The subjects of his interest include comparative jurisprudence, constitutional law, human rights law, Islamic law, environmental law, and issues related to women and children. He has organized numerous training programs for law teachers of India and abroad, including USAID and UGC-sponsored refresher courses. He has also been a regular panelist on Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha television and the All India Radio. He was chosen for the Best Citizens of India Award in 1999 and the prestigious Bhagirathi Teachers Award in the year 2011. And the list of his achievement basically goes on and on. However, what you will actually find missing from his CV is that he has an extremely gentle, kind, and generous persona. Sir, I am yet to come across a student of law from IP University who has not recollected his fond memories of interactions with you. And sir, for this session of the Faculty Development Workshop, which is dedicated to the skills of teaching, we could not have found a better resource person. Thank you once again, sir, for accepting our invitation. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Then Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Tabriz Ahmed, and all other colleagues, it's a privilege to be with you. And then on a topic which I think is an ocean in itself, and then we have to describe what we are passing through because we have selected to be teachers. And then selecting to be a teacher is something very important to be thought about because ultimately, if we want to render fruitful service, I think we must be very much conscious about it that we are teachers. And then at the beginning of being a teacher, one must definitely take a conscious decision that one is going to become a teacher. Teacher, as anybody in life is a teacher, a mother is a teacher, a father is a teacher, a brother is a teacher, or anybody, any other person is a teacher for another one because one learns a lot. And that all is uh, learning is going on, many things, positive, negative, anything. Anybody is learning anything. But to be formally a teacher and consciously taking a decision, I believe that that should be sorted out very objectively. It should not be as such one happens to be so or we happen to be so. That's I would say that a lot of objectivity is required to be brought into the process of choosing to be a teacher. As generally, when one gets to a profession, they look to it how much lucrative it is, and that's why for a long time we found people getting to medical profession, engineering, and so many others like that. But when one has to look to become a teacher, I still believe that many are there who would not have liked to be the teachers from that point of view. But at the same time, there are many who opt to be teachers, but it has to be seen why I want to become a teacher. So I would say something motivating, and also maybe we be a little bit critical of ourselves. So the motivation is that we are born, and if we find anybody at the highest pedestal on humanity, then I think above all there is one we call her mother. There cannot be anybody above the mother. And then second thing is if there can be anybody at the highest pedestal of humanity, he is a teacher. The question is that the mother gives birth to the physique of the human being, and it is the teacher who builds the personality of the human being. And that's how a human being gets a complete kind of existence. And if there is anything in any person, so the sources are the mother, and then it's the teacher. So it's in itself a motivation that one should see that uh, I must be a teacher. I possess the motivation, ability, capacity, and spirit of sacrifice, and then I want to be a teacher. And every other thing is immaterial. My being a teacher is in itself material, and that's important. So I would say that once anybody opts to be a teacher, she must have in the mind that I am opting to be at a very high pedestal of humanity, and there is nobody who can be seen around, but only some mother, but not anybody. And he is a creator, and he is a producer, and he is a manufacturer, if we call it. And above all, he is, you know, uh, innovator, creator, and innovator, and everything. So this is something which is very motivating, which is very much convincing, and one must do it. So, what's the justification for saying that you are at the highest pedestal? One, I already said that a human being owes his existence to the mother, and the mother is bringing up the child, and that all the survival of a child depends upon the mother. Or if there is anybody else, she has to play the motherly role, and that's how we can say it's mother in some form or the other form, and that's there, and then there is teacher. So I would say the qualities of a mother being very considerate, soft, and then caring, and at the same time develops all those kinds of understanding of the child, then learns the language of the child, and teaches her own language to the child, both. As anybody, even when a child cries, the mother understands what the child is saying. Anybody else may not understand. And when the words of the child are not clear, nobody may understand them, but mother is understanding them. So the teacher has to be motherly, and so he has to feel pride in it, that he is making the personality of somebody who is a human being. He is promoting the spirit, the culture, the language, the attitude, and then is presenting somebody to humanity. He is, he is therefore very important. He is and I am world. They are in a contractual position, if I call it, generally, because they will see whether you have the capacity, you have the quality, they will give you employment. And puts himself in the position of giving. I give you this knowledge, understanding, skill. It's a kind of godly position that way. The profession of it, and its benefit can be that your motivation to work hard to be a teacher will remain always alive. You will be always active, and you would always and most of the teacher as a giver, as a creator, and as a motivator, and anything. So that's how the first principle I believe is that one must realize that position, one must appreciate that position, and one must prepare himself, herself for that. And I'm giving further confidence on that by saying that there is nobody equal unto it. Somebody possessing any material wealth cannot be equal to you, cannot equalize himself with you only by having all those material kinds of acquisitions and then many mundane achievements, whatever it may be, positions and powers and all that. No. My dear teacher, you are above that. You are ultimately the one who brings up that person, and that's with this spirit one must select it. And another thing is that there has to be then a zeal also of one thing, that I shall create, I shall produce the best of the product. I shall see that how I can keep on improving things, how I shall keep on, giving the best to the world, best to the society, best to my nation. How can I do it? How can I give best to the system? I don't know, one of the teachers in Rajasthan University, maybe somewhere here, maybe here or not, and she was doing practice in court, and then she had in her mind that she once wanted to be a very good, excellent judge. But then she complained that she applied for assistant professorship in Rajasthan University, and I, being in the selection committee, I must have selected her on the basis of merit. She said, after joining teaching, I am feeling, I am feeling this thing that I miss it to become a very excellent judge. So I could have liked that to be. Then I told her, see, now you are a teacher and you are a producer. Now you can, whatever was your vision, understanding, desire, now you can produce many judges. You get yourself prepared. You decide to be a true teacher and then give to the system many good judges as you yourself want it to be. And that's how you can be you can be in multiple uh, postures, multiple this embodiments, and you can be in multiple positions as a teacher. So I would say when when any of my students stands in the class and I see it, I feel it is me who is standing there. When a good lawyer is standing in the court, I feel it is me who is standing there. And when a good judge is on the bench, I feel it's me who is there. And when a very good legislator is in speaking in the legislature, I see it is me who is speaking there. So that is being a teacher. One has to consciously take the decision of being teacher. He himself cannot be in his own body, be everywhere. But I want to be one who would produce so many good people, and they will be here and there, and I can be at multiple places, and I would therefore strive very hard that I shall give everything possible to the students so that they develop these capacities. And my zeal is to be at many places when I am staying at home, when I am staying in my chamber. I want to be at multiple places, and that's how one has to motivate himself to take the decision. I want to be a teacher, and I want to do these things at multiple places. And one may not be in a position to become a public servant somewhere, somewhere a minister, somewhere a politician, somewhere a social activist, somewhere a good lawyer, somewhere a good judge, somewhere a very good expert of technology, and good expert of comparative laws. But one can do it while being a teacher. One can strive that I can be in my students, I can live in them, and then give them my heart and mind with affection so that they get the motivation and they prepare themselves to be the best. And that's what should make a person to become a teacher. It should not be merely a question of getting a job. And maybe, the realities of life are there. I don't want only the utopia to be there, but I want that, yes, that may be a reality. But when you get it as a job, but then you decide, now you are the employee, but don't decide to remain an employee. You decide to remain the master, become the master when you are the employee. And master will mean that even if you are an employee in yourself, you are mastering your situations, your surroundings, the minds of the people, minds of your students, and then you are giving mastering minds in the form of very good product, and they are trained in many things, and they are very good managers of those the situation, whatever it may be, whether it is the management of the court, whether it is the management of any conflicts, whether this is the management of litigation or anything. That's how I would tell to those also who got this teaching uh, only because they wanted to do something and they became the teachers. Take it as a blessing, blessing from divinity. if you believe it, or this blessing from nature, and then you must say, no, I as a teacher, I am above the management. I as a teacher, I am above any authority, because I owe nothing to anybody. I owe everything to my conscience. I owe everything to my own being a teacher, and therefore I have to work as a teacher and become indifferent to the amount of the earnings, then other related things, or many thoughts come to the mind, this should have happened, that could have happened. No, you have to divorce all that kind of thinking and say, accept to be a teacher, and then definitely take a decision that I, as an employee, I'm there, but I am a teacher. I am a teacher, maybe at any level, and therefore I have been given the chance of being the producer of human beings. As somebody said, I have written few books, but I am not proud of writing. I must have written thousand write-ups. I don't mention that. I might have helped many people in writing books and other things, but I take pride in writing. I say I have written many human beings, because uh, by guiding, by motivation, by encouraging, by bringing them out of disappointment sometimes, depressions, and so many other things. So you as a teacher, you have to write human beings. You have to write articles, books, and other things, but we have to write human beings, and you have to have the imprint on the mind of the student, and also your own surroundings. You being a teacher anywhere, you may be formally the teacher of XYZ, but as a teacher, you are the symbol, and you can say, I got the opportunity of being a teacher through my compassion, through my patience, through my this. Other kinds of expressions in the society. I have to give, and I am an elevator, elevator of the culture. I am myself an elevator of the intelligence of the people, understanding of the people, and I am somebody who makes things discernible. I can make the anybody understand through my gestures, through my words, right and wrong, fair and unfair, and like that, good and bad, and then so many things, and that's how that's why I'm focusing on the first part of it, selecting teaching as a profession. It's very important. Rest is that comes when somebody knows he is an artist, then one must understand it, what it means. And when it is the question of a teacher, he has to be everything. He has to be an artist, he has to be a linguist, he has to be an engineer, he has to be a dietitian also. I believe, and he has to be, I would not say in that terms, he has to be a sociologist, he has to be an economist, he has to be a politician, he has to be, a psychologist. He cannot do without that. He has to be a very good brother, he has to be a very good sister also. I said he has to be a very good sister also, because I tell some of my students, I'm your mama, and you should never fear saying anything to me. You may not tell it to your mother at home, but you should fearlessly tell it to me. I shall find an answer to the question. I shall do it. So take me as your mama. So I would say that this is a very wonderful this kind of position. You may call it a profession, you may call it a service, you may call it any kind of thing, or I may call it a very good, it's a very fine kind of madness. So, being with that fine kind of madness, teacher, with full devotion, you are, coming to a position that I am producing, I am developing this humanity. I am the sustainer of it. I am the maintainer of it. And it is me who has to play the role of it. And then at the same time, teachers may also be ready to take the blame if something is going wrong, that somewhere some teacher, maybe the mother, maybe the father, maybe the surroundings, maybe the senior, something wrong has happened somewhere, whereby a bad idea has trickled down into the mind of a person, where something which should not have been there and which could have been that removed, that imprint or idea could have been removed from the mind of a person. I think there the teachers have to be very cautious and conscious and see that how we build very good minds. Ultimately, it's the world is what the mind of humanity is. World is what the conscience of humanity is. World is what the quantum of knowledge is there. World is what the understanding is there. And world is only and only what teachers can give to it. That's how I would say that while taking a decision to become a teacher, while selecting to get to the profession of being a teacher, then this thing should not be avoided, or this thing should not be missed, and one should consciously accept this decision. And I also said that if incidentally, for the sake of job, one gets to the service of a teacher, then after getting the job, still you must make it that, okay, I came to this job, I have to elevate myself to the position of the teacher. And then, then you will see that all what you do is a virtue in itself. All you do is basically you are making the humanity, you are helping the humanity like that. So, dear friends, I think having said it, I would say it should not be taken as a utopia. I believe that all of you are very good teachers, and all of you can just in a second prepare yourself, as all of you, I believe, already are thinking like that. But if somewhere, because of certain exigencies of life, a teacher does not get to that pedestal, that higher position, that elevated position, where there cannot be anybody above that, but only the teacher of the teacher, then in that position, when you are, you have to maintain that position, and then that has to give you a lot of patience, that has to give you a lot of thinking, understanding, and this spirit of sacrifice, and in that way we can understand what a teacher is, and who a teacher is in real sense of the term, and what is the real task of the teacher. That's there. Now, coming to another part of it, when we say that generally people talk of pedagogy, people talk of teaching skills, people talk of teaching tools, and other things, then I believe that that's also very important. However, these things come to a person. And I would always say, when a child is born and to live, nobody teaches to the child how to suckle the nipple of the mother. Nobody. There is no. It's just a zeal to survive, instinct to survive, and a response to the instinct that the child automatically is looking for that all. And is that's how if a teacher is getting if a teacher is getting to that real position, then in such a situation, that teacher automatically puts himself into the situation, what is required, what I must know, how I must give. And that's how nobody, I would say, nobody can create a code for teaching or rules for teaching or impose a system for teaching. No, there I would say that when teacher will put himself in the position of a teacher, then he should be given that freedom, that opportunity. That since I have to play the role of the teacher, now what should I do? And automatically, a teacher, once a teacher wants to become a teacher, then definitely he has to be after knowledge, because it will be, it the basic, will be how to acquire more and more knowledge, understanding, wherever in which whatever is your stream, and whatever is your focus of teaching, you have to be after it. You have to know the well where you have to drink the water, and you will have to search for it. So there is no need for preparing a code. There is need for this thing that with that you yourselves have to prepare yourself, that I want to be the teacher. I want to be a successful teacher. I want to produce the best. I want to give the best. I have to influence the mind that it gets to the true this line of thinking, and then I have not to develop my skill. I have to develop the skill of others. I have to make other person a skillful. I have to make another person a thoughtful person. I have to make another person a very sensitive mind. I have to make another person a responsive mind. I have to make another person somebody who serves the best. That's, the realization that I'm a teacher, that should automatically bring these things. As I would talk of the research is as it's very good to study the methods of research, but I always say that it's not any legislation that you must do this thing and that thing and that thing, and then you must give this and then have this kind of sampling and all that, and it's not laid down anywhere. It's when somebody wanted, really, I want to find out a fact. And many people have done it. And when we look to all that, it's an experience. Somebody's experience of searching the facts like this, doing the research like this, other one this, and then we say there are various these kinds of methods of doing research, and otherwise you when you are pondering upon a problem, when you are doing research on a problem, you yourselves have to be very with a free mind. You may take the advantage of getting to others experiences, but that's not binding on you. That's an experience with you. You can try with it, you can think on it, but when you are focusing on a problem, you yourselves have to decide that which method will be the best for me, how I can make assure that this thing should happen. In the same way, when a teacher is in a class, online, offline, away, or in whatever way, you yourselves have to decide what should I do, what should I say, what knowledge I must possess, how I should communicate, and which will be the effective way of communication, that you yourselves have, and what sort of the group of people you have in front of you. I cannot write a piece for you that whenever you are teaching in the class, you should follow this thing. No, I can give you my experience, but I can't dictate it to you. You yourselves have to develop the quality on seeing your group of students, or your any student, or your researcher. You have to see that how I shall communicate, what I shall communicate, and then what will be the outcome of it. And then if there is this kind of response, what should be my next step? You have to decide. You have to do it. And that's how I would say that the first skill of the teaching, as the basic skill, I would say, is that you yourselves must possess a thinking mind, a discernible mind. a sensitive mind, a responsive mind, and then a responsive mind in the sense that you are giving it a proper response to any situation, to any word, to any question, to any requirement, any compulsion, and whatever is the demand of a particular moment of time. Because you as a teacher you as a teacher have to face, if 60 students, 40 students in the class, all the 40 are 40 minds. These are 40 worlds. These are 40 backgrounds. These are 40 inclinations, 40 instincts, 40 desires. How can you do it? It's not. If somebody thinks that teaching is a very easy kind of thing and all that, and teachers are just enjoying and this thing and that thing, they have not to, they need not anything. I believe that world must understand, nation must understand that teacher's job is most complex. He should get the best of the salary. He should get the best of the facilities, and then only you can build such a kind of nation. It's not, and should get the best of the treatment, because it's ultimately he is in everybody's mind. He will be in everybody's mind, and it is he who is building others' mind. So, dear friends, I would not say that one should have a good, that this quality of preparing a paper book, or then, writing a note or like this. No, mine will be that the first thing is that the teacher's first quality should be that he observes well, he understands well, he responds well, he takes things well, and he his quality should be his quality should be his quality should be that what student says, that is all right, you understand. You have to also understand what he is not saying, what is in his mind, what he needs, how it has to be, shaped, what response is there. So that's, dear friends, it's first of the qualities, I would say, that sensitivity and that responsiveness and that alertness must be in the teacher, and that anybody should say, tell to the teacher, that how you understand more than I understand, because he is there now. His game. This is his game. This is his job. This is task, that he understands more and then responds more, and keeps on doing. That's the basic skill that I said. And then I did earlier refer to quantum of knowledge. Quantum of knowledge, there is no end to it. And there is also the motivation. You may not be enjoying the power, you may not be enjoying the authority of something. I always say that nobody has said so far, wealth is power, gold is power, silver is power. No, knowledge is power. So you have to understand, a teacher must understand the power of knowledge. And anybody can bow before knowledge. He may be the most wealthy person of the world. I tell you and give you confidence, if you have the knowledge, you have the understanding, anything, anybody's mind bows. He may not apparently do it, but you will always find that any mind with pride of any kind just bows before knowledge. And that's how, as a teacher in your own discipline, you must try to get more and more and more knowledge. And means of it are also very important. And for that, I may underline few. One is that as a teacher, you must always try to get in touch with the teachers in your discipline, and don't shy away, or don't avoid anybody. You may find somebody is excellent or not excellent or average or anything, but please get in touch with the teachers, of your discipline. And second is that you have to do a lot of this research to know your predecessors and who have written about it, about in your subject, who have given thought, who have given understanding, that also must be seen. And then at the same time, you have to look to in every subject, there are certain legendary people, and you must get to their thought, their understanding, and their explanations of things, and that's how you can have that kind of one of the human resource for a teacher. Which is the human resource for the teacher? As we are having these kinds of FDPs, refresher courses, and others, there you come in touch with your colleagues and the people in your subject or like that, and then another generation comes and they talk to you. You try to know them, and then you know those who are like they are very good experts of subjects. That's the third level. You can do it. And I must tell you that FDP or refresher course is basically to give an idea, to give a method. It's not that during the refresher course you are in touch with other teachers, or during the refresher course you just try to listen to some people. No, it's not all. It's the beginning of something. After that, you must continue it, and you must chase what's coming from others. You have to be in this. It's a kind of ocean or a space. It is that what is written, what has not been written, and then the streams of knowledge are there. And I would say that human this resource is one of the very important things. Second, I would say that you must have always eye on legislations as law teachers, and that's how you should not in any way you know in any way you should not be oblivious of it, the process of legislation. If a teacher is not very much live to the process of legislation, then one cannot be a very good teacher. And then one does not prepare himself or has not taken a conscious decision of being a teacher, because process of legislation is more important for a teacher than the legislation itself. See, the person who is a consumer, he needs only the product, but a teacher needs that how the product has come. Then only he can teach that well. So that's how the process of teaching, this process of legislation is very important. And again, this judicial precedent, I would again say, besides legislation, you should have an eye on that also. And reading a legislation, understanding the process of legislation needs the particular skill that will develop in due course of time when you will indulge in it, when you will involve, engage yourself with it. And in the same way, judgments, as we call the precedent, a teacher must be well versed with the precedent of his discipline, his subject. And then there also, I will say, it should not be a two-line knowledge of saying that in Keshwananda Bharati case, this was held. Uh, no, it has to be the knowledge of the process, how that judgment ultimately came out, how that conclusion came out, what were the contentions, what were the issues, what were the problems. Uh, a teacher has to get to that kind of understanding of things. And then I would say that the teacher must be live to life. Life, you know, anybody may, when you are a teacher, teacher of law, what happens? You are free from anything. You are free from any discipline. You are in law and you are in everything. So you must be, as I was earlier saying, you must be like, you must be able to think like an engineer, like a medical doctor, like a manager, like an employer, like an employee, like an administrator. Acha. I am sorry there was some disturbance and I shall try to avoid it. What I was trying to say is that once you become a law teacher, you are then, in everything. You don't know, someday an engineer will come to you with his problem. Someday a medical doctor will come to you with his problem. To anybody, and then you have to respond. Yeah, and there can be any, from domestic to the diplomatic, and then from a small business to a large corporate world. You have to have an eye, and then you have to think about everything. And you must, while, if I always give the example that while a cricket match is going on, a law teacher must know that how many runs have been scored by Tendulkar or any other now by new ones. It's not that you will say law has nothing to do with it. No, the law teacher must know it. He has to keep an eye on it. Otherwise, he will be a teacher. And he will get salary also. But I believe that he remains somewhere at a lower pedestal and not at that one. So my mine is that you have to prepare then yourself to be anything. It may be mind-boggling. It may be boring. It may not be something in which you have the interest, but being a law teacher, one has to develop interest in anything. It may be true of other sociology also. I don't know if there are people, teachers of management also with you in this group, or there are. I think about every teacher, this is very important, that one must not know only the few theories and few concepts of the subject, but must know how it is connected with life and try to get to all those aspects as may be required in a particular kind of situation. And that makes one a true teacher. And I would say that then only you can produce Bhagavati and Krishna. Then only you can produce a very good manager. And then only you can produce a nanny palkiwala. Otherwise, you can't. And you must have an eye on some literature also, because if you are not very good literary in your presentation, in your thinking, in your understanding, then again there will remain some deficiency in it. And then having access to all these kinds of these disciplines, and while being yourselves in your own discipline, I think that for that you may look in books for how I can do it. No, you first ask your own self that I am a teacher. I must devise a way. I must, shape my own plan, that how to get to the things around me. As for example, in last decade of 20th century, technology came very heavily as the heaviest vehicle. Anything on the road could be crushed, and it did crash. It did crash the Tanga, it did crash the Tempo, it did crash all other vehicles, and then it came out and then said, no, it's me, ICT, Information and Communication Technology. It is me. biotechnology. It is me, chemical technology. And then, how it showed its presence. And then you found all legislatures in the world, they became active. They wanted to make the laws. And then even I think Professor Tabriz knows it. He is, I think, among us the topmost in technology and the cyber and all that, along with Pavan Dugul, Vakal Sharma, and others. Then you can see that there are various areas where our students, we teachers, we say there is absence of law, there is absence of regulation. But my answer to that is that there is absence of it because our legislator does not know what to do. He has not the understanding what the rule should be. He has not understanding what the actual problem is. He is not having a solution, and therefore he has no motivation. And then we say there is absence, and he does not know even how to draft it. This is the problem. And why is it so? Because the teacher is not at that level. Teacher is not live to it. Teacher has to see. Teacher has to be very predictive. And he has to develop that skill of analysis, of being futuristic, have that imagination, and then he has to produce the people who will be live in the society, in public offices elsewhere, and they can be, they can come up at opportune time and then give the best to the society which it needs. And that's why I would say that the teacher has to live beyond where he is. He has to have a futuristic vision. And as I said, he has to be predictive. This can happen, that can happen, that can happen, and that can happen. And I would say, I think the humanity should not wait for a disaster to happen and then take the steps. No. The humanity, the teacher of anything, he must be there to understand that a disaster is likely to come. A disaster is likely to happen, and what I shall do. And then a law teacher has to be more so, because he has to make the student to understand in advance that what are the challenges he is going to face. What are the various kinds of hurdles and obstacles, and what are the various kinds of challenges he is going to face, and how he will be judged, and how he has to be very responsible to the things. So dear friends, in this way I can say what I am saying in a very this in a way of this observing many things in one go, as we are doing, trying to do everything in one go, in one program and one speed. So there should be a very systematic approach to not only getting to the existing legal position, existing law, existing systems, existing problems. No, there should be again a more systematic way of perceiving the future challenges, the future requirements, then future possibilities of preparations. Uh, that it should be very much systematic. It should not be like that. And I think there is now the fashion of giving examples from the pandemic as well. I think that when if there had been some systematic way of understanding the future of any disease, any kind of threat to health, I think that system enables one to understand what possibly can happen. And therefore, that systematic approach to knowledge, systematic approach to understanding, that can tell things in advance. And that's what I'm saying. that when you are carving out a lawyer from a person who is your student today, then you have to keep in mind that this student has someday, after 3 years or 5 years, to go outside the gate of your institution, and how he will do there. Whether he will go to a senior and then he will ask him that whether if you have the drafting skill, okay, work in my office, or any other skill, work in my office, or you go out and he may be a dropout, or he may be just moving around to live a life below poverty line, or live a life always under a stress, or live the life which in any way will be indignified. No, you have to think at that very moment what he requires, what challenges he has to face, and therefore he should have that skill, he should have that understanding, he should have that energy, he should have that kind of vision, he should have that kind of motivation of preparing himself for those all challenges. And his purpose and objective should not be, as presently I find in 99% of the students, as passing the examination. After that we will see it. And then why he is restless, uh, after that he should have been restless when he was during in the studies, when he was at the college, when he was at the university, that I have to face it. I think a teacher has to do it. He has to give that what if he is himself not futuristic, he is not that kind of responsive to future. How can his student be? And therefore, dear friends, I may mention one thing very important about this online kind of thing. That's this thing that uh, what I said is very important in reference to this pandemic situation, in reference to the online things. And what's that? That I have seen mostly the teachers, what they complain that students are not responsive. And then they start giving concession to the students, and they have to be given, as because this has become a national kind of trend, that we should give that. But and then when we talk of what is to be done, then different kinds of suggestions are given. But I believe that, the most important thing that's not being said. That is, this here is a challenge to the teacher. The challenge to the teacher is that while being online, you have to be in such a position that you develop a very higher and more sensitive and more affectionate and more motivating relationship with the student. It's, it's not that how much material you can give him online. It is more important that you win his heart and mind, that he gets connected. The student wants to listen, the student wants to understand, the student wants to participate. Is he prepared for that? That thing is more important. And that's why I would say that he then, if this thing is absent, whatever you do, it will not be sufficient. It will leave some gap always between the excellence and being a mediocre. And I believe that this the focus has to be on it. That how in online teaching a teacher can win over a student, and what should be the methods. On that there has to be the research. On that there have to be the deliberations. That how to ensure that student is motivated to be connected with the teacher. And otherwise, it is easy because he is saving the time of traveling. And then it can be a more objective kind of this contact with the institution, rather than being in a group otherwise. So I would say that if a student is made to feel that what he needs in future, how he can give dignity to himself, how he can make his life, all that he is getting from the teacher. And without getting connected with the teacher, he will have the deficiencies, he will have the problems, and he will have, uh, you know, different uh, kinds of loss of those things which cannot be made up in life afterwards. And that's why I would say that we may have to think more of uh, that promoting the motivation in the student rather than giving concessions in evaluation, rather than giving concessions uh, you know, in the mode of this examination. No, I believe that that's very important. Um, let the whole nation not understand it, but I will say it that since it's the future, uh, uh, this uh, this is something which people say it's just a phase, but I believe that this is something which needs attention, and it should be taken as something which will impact for all times. And then you can see that if students produced in these 5 years, when they will get to the legal profession, when they will become the judges, when they will become human resource elsewhere, what will be the impact of that? That's why here a teacher who has come with a motivation to be a teacher, an institution which has come to facilitate teaching, because all these institutions say that we are non-profit making bodies, we are service providing bodies. That's why taxes are not being charged on them. Many facilities are given to them. Lands are granted to them. I think they have to come to the truth. They have to understand it, and then provide facilities to the teachers, provide money to the teachers to be very clear and clear in expression, and so that the teachers develop themselves in such a way that they can, get the student with them. They can get students with them and make them, uh, you know, navigate through the ocean of knowledge, through the ocean of understanding, and love this ocean, and then come out as very good professionals, so that they can contribute to the humanity, so that the purpose of education is well served. Then, dear friends, there are some other kinds of things to be said. But to teachers, I don't want to be very hard. I want to be very soft. But I feel bound to say that many teachers still they have not engaged themselves with judgment reading, have critical judgment reading, and mostly they look in textbooks which are very badly written, and in them they find very small references to the judgments. But that's the cause of poverty of teaching. That's You must always have a skill of critical analysis of judgments, and since we have the culture of teaching any law with reference to judgments, and then we don't have the culture of critical understanding of the judgments and evaluation of judgments, therefore teaching will always remain at that level. I should say not at the. It will always be below standard, and it will not be purposive. So that's why that has to be done. The rest is lecture method, case method, all that, how to make a lecture more attractive, whether you have to adopt the problematic approach, or you are doing starting the ordinary lecture as you do. But I think in pandemic periods and online, you must develop the skill of making a problematic approach of teaching, because you must start every class with a problem. You must not start every class with just a title. No, You must start every class with a problem, and then you must seek this comments from every student, whether 40 or 60, very brief response. And then you may also, if you don't have enough time, then you can do it by rotation. And you may divide the students in different groups, and you may say today these 10 or 15 students will respond to this problem, and then in another class other 15 will respond, and that will be a continuous response, continuous engagement of the student, and continuous evaluation of the student. And that's the way that you can find that teacher will not keep only speaking and student will keep sleeping. So you will keep teaching, student will keep sleeping, though he has put his he has connected the with the meeting. No, that will not, and then it will not happen what happened to that Singapore professor, about whom we came to know that he was speaking for 2 hours, speaking very good, then he came to know that nobody was listening to him, all were sleeping, and he was a sensitive soul. He died of a cardiac arrest. He could not bear this humiliation. So a teacher has to connect the student when even on online. And I think the problematic approach of teaching, that will be very important, and that will take some more energy and more engagement of mind of a teacher. And that's why I say that now the institutions should provide more facilities to the teachers. And dear friends, one more thing I would like to say, that's now many people and many institutions have developed this kind of thinking that since the classes are to go online, so we don't need more number of teachers. But my understanding is that now these institutions should engage more teachers, because now the teacher has to develop more skill, they have to have more thinking, they have to have more efforts, because they have to connect with a student who is thousands of kilometers away. How to motivate him, how to get to him. The teacher has to work very hard. Teacher has to understand the student so that he can, connect the student with himself at such a large distance. And then all these preparations of producing for them different kinds of materials, and in you may need sometimes to produce for them some special videos also, and some other kinds of materials. So there should be a larger number of teachers now, and they should be well paid so that they do it. Otherwise, I think these bar council should understand it, and they must be now too much concerned about it, that all the institutions pay good to the teachers, and they definitely let them monitor, let them see that teachers are doing well the work, and they are discharging their responsibilities well. Okay, let them monitor, but at the same time, they should engage more and more teachers, so that there is more excellence and more engagement and true engagement into the into their subjects, and then teaching exercises and teaching practices, and keeping in touch with the students, and like that. I think all that needs a good kind of skill. And then I may say, as technology has advanced, now any teacher has to be have a good technological know-how. And the least I would say, when Professor Tanya was asking me, can you join by Google Meet? Do you know it? So I took it as a very good compliment, that at least I have learned how to connect through Google Meet. And I must say that there are some sophisticated kinds of things. Evaluation is done online. editing is done online, and instructions are given online. So we have to be well with all these kinds of technological skills as well. That's very important. And future of judiciary is like that, future of governance is like that. And that's how the teachers must be given more, and more must be taken from the teachers. It's not that only given, I am saying teachers must be given enough, and then much more must be taken from the teachers, so that they are well in their skills, in their motivation, in their understanding, in their level of knowledge, in their level of understanding, and above all, the wisdom how to make a student uh, be attentive even when he is thousands of kilometers away, when there is no way to motivate him, but only through this small box, small device, where you may or may not be able sometimes see the picture, sometimes hear it, sometimes this thing. But this device is the only means you approach the student, and then how you will prepare yourself for that, and how you will motivate the student for that. I think there has is need for too much indulgence, and I'm yet to see anybody having written a paper on it, because there are good writers, that how to create a real teaching atmosphere in such situations. So that's how I think some 10 teachers of GD Goenka, they can take a decision, and this Tanya and Preeti or others, they may take it as a challenge, and develop certain kinds of this materials, and whatever shape or many any means, that how we can provide that kind of strategic kind of teaching methods, and then teaching facilities, and then learning facilities, and have more motivations, and have more monitoring, self-monitoring, self-regulation of this online teaching, and that's how that can help, and how to have very effective moot court competitions, drafting competitions online. I think in your class, a teacher, now every teacher must be, it's not in different law schools one teacher is the in charge of moot court and that's enough. No, now every teacher has to be well versed with mooting, and then competitions in drafting, competitions in other kinds of things, having mini conferences, having some mini workshops, or very specialized kinds of skits or other things. And I believe that in this period and after, in this pandemic period and after, we have to have a large shift from that traditional kind of teaching. And for that, the skills are very much obvious. We can perceive what the skills are required, but we have to sit down, we have to write, we have to plan, and that's very important. And you will find that uh, that 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 you are creating new kinds of plans and strategies for replacing or for adding to what was earlier happening. And I believe that this is most important part of it, and it needs modern that kind of skill development and like that. And then I would say a teacher must have research skill also. And if a teacher is not having research skills, he cannot be a good teacher, because teaching and research have to go together. And that's how you yourselves have to learn to have access to various sources of knowledge, online or whatever. And then, when you have your materials with you, and you have understood them, At the same time, there is an impression in the students that now everything is available in the mobile. Then I think the teacher has to have some thought which is beyond that. Otherwise, the student will not be attentive. The student will not get, serious about it. And that's how, a teacher has to come to that level. There is much more to be said, but I think this one-way traffic may be very good, but it's not fulfilling the purposes in that way, and therefore I should get very, very uh, tough questions so that I am forced to think, and I will respond, and please be ruthless in asking questions. Don't have mercy on me, because I want to be your good student. I want to think, I want to understand, and then I may also become a good teacher like you. So I will stop here, and then please ask me questions. Uh, Thank you, Professor Tanya and Professor Tabriz.
Thank you so much, sir. It was truly a mesmerizing talk that you just delivered. You have thrown light not just on the role of the teacher and the skill set we need, but also the challenges we are currently facing in the online node. So, sir, thank you very much. I now request the participants. This is a golden chance, a golden opportunity for all of you to address your questions directly to Professor Dr. Afzal. You can unmute yourself and ask, or you can mention it in the chat box. Sir, I have a question if I may be permitted to ask.
Oh, no, permitted. No, I said you be ruthless. Huh? Ask
Yes,
me
sir.
very tough question. I want to be your student, and you are saying, will you allow? I am already your student. No, please ask.
Uh, Yes, sir. So, say initially when you started with the lecture, you stressed upon the pious relationship that is there between a teacher and a student, just like that between a mother and a child. Sir, I truly agree with you. But in today's time, especially those of us who are young and who are teaching in the private university, we are seeing that the perception of the student actually it has undergone a change. They are essentially seeing universities as well as the teachers who teach there as service providers. So, sir, this is something, well, they will also lose out on this precious bond that, otherwise would have been there. So, sir, any your thoughts or any suggestions that you can make regarding inculcating these kind of values into our students?
I think you are very correct. And what I said, that's also something which has to be thought about. Though that culture has to begin from school. And but we don't have control on that. Already when a student has passed the 12th class, he comes to us. He is already under around 17 and 18, and he has a mindset and all that. What I was trying to say is that basically we have to understand the level of the student and get higher. I would not appreciate if any teacher says that I can't do it. I shall always believe that when somebody is coming in that teen age to us, I believe that if we indulge in that kind of activity of elevating ourselves to a higher position, then definitely we can do it. And we can be the role models that way. If I am, let me say, it may look like a utopia that we find, Max Weber has talked of ideal types. And in our nation, we have found those ideal types in Amitabh Bachchan, in Shah Rukh Khan, in this other Kapoor and whatever it may be. I believe that we have to, teachers have to get to become the ideal types. Ideal types in the sense that they promote their wisdom, strategies, system in such a way that student is getting to the system and he gets to it with a motivation. And for that, that I was saying too much about not only the teacher, about management as well. So we have to, the management has to get with the teacher, and the teacher has to get with the management, and then you have to have that system. When we developed the system of internal marks, what's the system that we truly make it a continuous assessment? That can be again, critically examined, and we can see what is our this system of evaluation, and what is our system of examination. I think we have to again think on these things with an open mind, and then we have to make the student feel that here is, when you enter this institution, this is the gateway for you to reach anywhere. And then you will reach, if you go with this thing, you will reach that level of excellence. And if you don't follow it, then you will be after 5 years looking to it. Now, which senior I must join? Can I do something there? Or you are not able to do it, you will be a dropout. And then we may present the situation that how many LLBs in this country, lakhs of LLBs every year, then 60%, 70% may be the dropouts. We have to make these things clear. And I must also say, in Delhi, Bar Council may be angry with me. I'll say 70% of the lawyers, they are living below poverty line. I know it. That situation has to be, made understand to everybody, and they know it later on, and they are looking for some jobs here and there, or resort some kinds of touting. I believe that we have to, this is a very good thing you ask it, but at the same time I would say it's very difficult, but it's not impossible. Because when the student is leaving your college, he then starts realizing it. He then starts appreciating that what was to be done. And that's why generally I say that when I look to the teacher as the mother, then I say, when you come to the college first time, to the university first time, please think, when after 5 years, when you will meet your mother, will you like to have a smile on her face, or you will be a disappointing fellow? If you tell to the mother, oh mama, I know drafting, I know arguments, I know the law, I know how to process the case, or I know how to pass the judicial examination, it will bring a smile on her face. And that has to be, we have to get it from the teacher. And here I may mention you, I feel very sorry when my student after 5 years is going to a coaching center to do coaching for judicial examination. What is there they are teaching them, what I am not teaching them, what I am not making them understand? Why can't the law school, the teachers together, tell them, you have to be with us with heart and mind? And you may find in your fourth and fifth year, the student is absent. Where is he? Sir, he is doing coaching. What is that? What we are doing and what that coaching center is doing? I think we have to be very critical of ourselves also, and we have to make the students realize also uh, without the stick, but we have to hit hard. We have to have a system where all have to be cooperative. It should not be a university is looking to building very good buildings. It is looking to other facilities and regulatory bodies like AICT or Bar Council or others. They are looking to whether they have the electricity facility, whether they are having these many rooms, whether they are having this thing. No, they must also see that whether the teacher is with all the facilities of teaching and bringing up a very good mind. And then at the same time, they may also monitor us that whether we are doing our work as expected with those good facilities or not. I think the system overall needs to be focused, and we will definitely find answers to them. But I will again say this time it may look a utopia to you, but this is something what we have to think. When you think of God whom you never see, why should you have objection to think on what Professor Wani is saying? No. So at least you are seeing me. You are not seeing the God. Still you are looking to many things. But I say something that the management has to awaken and the teacher has to be respected. He should not be under a threat of the job. We find most of the teachers, their this tenure is not secure. That's very unfortunate. How can a teacher develop the strategies of connecting a student with him or her? And when you don't know the fate of the job after 1 year or 6 months or 2 years or 10 years. So, dear friends, I think when we can get a true guru we can go, we have to go with these kinds of things and make this so-called utopia a reality. We'll have to go for that. That will be my response, and that's how I would respond to your very good question. And you made me learn many things. Thank you so much, my dear teacher.
Thank you so much, sir. So I think your words, the sentence you said that the teachers they create a human being, they write a human being. I think, sir, for the rest of my life, these words will always stay with me because these are very powerful and very accurate words as to the role a teacher is playing. So thank you so much, sir, for your response. Preeti, ma'am, do you have a
Yeah,
question?
yeah, ma'am.
So
I
your
have a
ex-student
question.
has a question. Preeti ma'am goes on and on about you.
No, 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 no. She is not an ex-student. I am her continuous student. No.
Oh,
So
sir,
I
you're
shall,
Yes,
I
sir,
shall,
embarrassing
I
me.
shall,
absolutely.
I shall
I stand
never cease
corrected.
to be her student. I can never
Thank you.
cease to be. Huh. Okay.
Thank you so much for your kind words. Sir, you've always been, not only my teacher, but as you say, my father, my mother, my true mentor, and, in the true sense of the term, one of the chief reasons, that I diverted from practice to teaching.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you, and you know that. And so thank you so much. Thank you so much for everything which you've done for me. So I had this question in the previous session also, and it keeps intriguing me. And what better person, than you to ask this question? So we've all, even as a teacher now, I've been evaluating students based upon the Turnton plagiarism report or the Urkon plagiarism report. So I want to know your opinion on, how fair or unfair, justified or unjustified is an artificial intelligence software evaluating a human intelligence on the basis of some mathematical algorithms.
Yeah, I think, what you said is very good. I would say, what man does, he creates ways of this evaluation, how to do it. And for that, when we go for this skill development, then means and tools and all that, but I would say that there always remains a gap. As I always say that technology or science it puts always a challenge before the law. So you are trying to make the law that there should not be plagiarism. And then you are using the available technology for that. But the mind which wants still to plagiarize goes another step in technology and is
And
using another technology that he is plagiarizing and you are not able to detect it. So that's not the, the correct test of it as we use it. But it is making plagiarism a little bit difficult. And so it's, making
I'm so
the
sorry to interrupt you, sir. Miss
okay.
Neelam Saim, ma'am, your mic is on. So sorry to interrupt you. So
Okay,
please
okay, no
continue,
problem.
sir.
Okay. So I was saying that it's making it difficult. Okay, you have to do something more, and then that's the actually things happen that way. You want that there should not be plagiarism. You have given a tool to stop it, but there is another, thought and strategy to overcome it, and people are continuing with plagiarism. Actually, what I would suggest is that when we have to eradicate a disease or minimize it, we cannot do it only by having a restrictive or prohibitory mechanism or punitive mechanism. It's not. There has to be a preparation and prevention for that. That means that the whole system of education has to work for that. And we have to go by possibilities. For example, when we want a student to write in PhD 400 pages, I know it that no law professor has written in the last 2 years or whenever you take it 400 pages without plagiarism and they are his own creation. Then why do we have this much requirement? Why you are not clear about it? That we can have 50 pages in which the basic idea is coming, or 100 pages, 150 pages, in which the ideas are produced in one's own original language, context, perspective, and he has assimilated, digested, assimilated that thought, understanding, and then he has this capacity of responding. That earlier in 2006 somewhere I was speaking, and very prestigious. I said the test of a teacher. If a teacher wants to see if I am successful, he must see in class if he is making the student think really, and student is responding properly. Then definitely you can say I have succeeded in communicating the idea and doing it. In the same way that when we are having, it may be LLM, it may be LLB project, it may be LLM project, or it may be an PhD dissertation or thesis, whatever. We have to see that whether we have made the student able to respond in his own way. And the first is, and that we are not having, perception building is the first thing in knowledge. Are we building perceptions in students? You can see your these uh, PhD coursework. I wonder why should there be this kind of syllabus? Why there should be only all general kinds of this somebody is working on climate change and the same coursework. Somebody is working on another thing, the same coursework. No, we have to give the perception building, and anything original will come out of perception. And when we don't have that perception building, we cannot think of eliminating plagiarism. We cannot minimize that also. So all this use of technology, I would say throw it. Mr. UGC or Mrs. UGC or Messrs. UGC, throw it. Please have proper perception building, have proper projection of ideas, and then assure that you are asking only that much what can happen. If yesterday I was invited by one of the students who is a judge for food, I said, you have cooked so much good food, but I can't have whole of it now in one go. And I have to eat it by and by and end, by and by and by. I can have this much only. So, dear friends, how can you write all the 400 pages, all original, when we know we can't do it? Nobody has done it. I don't want to take the name of any jurist. I don't want to take the name of any judge also. He has written 200 judgments. Then how much is in that original, in those 200 judgments? And maybe someone who has originally written 500 pages judgments. In 10 years, we can think some originality must be there. At least he had to abridge the things which he read from others, other precedent, or otherwise they are producing like that. So we have to get to the realities that this much is possible. And at the same time, perception building is very important. You cannot think original without having proper perceptions. And rest of it is language that has to be there. And that's why I always tell to my students, not to good ones, but to excellent ones, that if you don't have word for an idea, please write it in your local language. If you are Bengali, Khadi Boli, Malay, Gujarati, Rajasthani, write it first in that. Don't let the original idea go. Later on, we will write it in English or whatever language you need. So the question is, we don't train our scholars like that. And we adopt a punitive approach that by punishment, you will not do it. When somebody is not prepared for that, how can we expect it, and then by providing the punishments where they will learn? And then I may also talk of the responsibilities of supervisors. What are their incentives? I would say they must be increased. Incentives must be there because this is research. It's not otherwise. Teaching is also very big task. But when it is the question of research, then I think there have to be the incentives so that they get engaged into the research. And they have allowed Professor A to, the scholars at one go and teaching also. How can he do it? How can he do it? Think for a moment. No. A professor of physics cannot produce 8 experts of physics now in one go in 3 years' time. That's the time to produce. And if it is truly done, how many experts of nuclear physics we will have in 3 years now in the country? I think this is all, no, that's the real utopia. And I would say that, let me say, as Madam talked of private universities, I am appreciative of them. I don't say private because knowledge is nothing private and public. Knowledge is knowledge. The question is, we can say self-financing, or we can have other good word for them. The question is, let some self-financing or philanthropic institutions that way take the initiative and have a good band of fellows and researchers who can truly bring out some scholars with rich perceptions, with rich knowledge and communication skills, and lovers of originality, and make them feel what I said in the beginning, that If you convert yourself into a teacher, then definitely you will feel, yes, I am something. So long you are only reading from the book and telling to the student, you are a pen drive professor. No? So pen drive is nothing. You read from somewhere. You read also unwritten books. You look to the problems in the society and around, problems in market, problems at home, problems in space, anywhere, problems on mountains and ocean and depth of the oceans. You look to them. They may not be written. Understand them and then communicate them in your own language. Make the student also think and tell him, you tell me in your own language, whatever your language is. I think that is the root. That's why I once told the Bar Council secretary, where are you sending this? You have these papers, you have these subject contents. Don't you know I know it more? I know what my student has to do. Still, you are sending it. I knew that they will keep sending it, but I just wanted to say, is it that teachers don't know what the student has to do in future? We will make them learn in real what they have to do. And we will not tell them to read it from bad textbooks. And then they will be evaluated in this way. So that culture of imitation, plagiarism, reproducing things, that begins right from the beginning. And that's how we don't get to a kid to the orchard and say, this is apple. No, we tell him A for apple. And he has never seen the apple there. The question is, to make somebody original, we have to have this approach, which I was trying to say. And I believe that you got the idea, what I'm saying. And maybe, again, I would say it may be a utopia in the third world, or maybe even in the first world. But this is the actual thing, that once we don't prepare anybody for that thing, for originality, for hating imitation, for hating theft, isn't it? And then giving to the student the feel of being original. No, as I don't want to have a self praise, but I sometimes say, you get any professor of any discipline from the world, I have something to tell him. And, get him. I have something to tell him. And I trust myself only because I can see things in originality. I can see things as they are. And I don't begin a study from a textbook. When I get a textbook in hand, in 1 second, I reach to the last page, because I find, fire coming out of it, and fire of ignorance, fire of imitation, fire of plagiarism, and fire of, making things unlearned to me, which I have learned. So that's how we are in search of those strategies and methods whereby we feel, have a feel of originality. And then say, if I write only 100 original pages in my life, that will be a great achievement. And when you are asked to write a big volume, 1500 pages and all that, I have seen some universities, though we have done better here, some universities in some third world countries, they say at least 900 pages should be written. So the question is, how can we do it? So they manipulate then the language, and that copyright law is allows you to do it. So that's a permissive kind of theft you can commit. That's how, a thief can enter, but not through the door, but through the window or through the roof. through the roof, or he can dig a hole in the soil and then come out through the floor. So I think that's what we have to appreciate and realize. And we should produce very good students. God bless you.
Thank you so much, sir. There couldn't have been a better answer to it. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. And
Thank you, sir.
uh,
Any other participant? One more question we can have. So one final question that, if I may ask you once again, because this was a question that I could not respond to. It was in front of an interview panel. So the question that was put to me, because I'm young in teaching, they asked me that so far you have taught only classes which has like 30 students, 40 students. How will you handle a class which has more than 70, 80 students? So, sir, I really could not make out as to, with your varied experience, maybe you can throw a light on this.
no, see, first I would say that you should not have such a large class because you can't manage it, and you cannot attend to everybody that way. That's why ideal is 20 and then compulsion is 40 when you have to have the class. You can divide them into different sections, and that's why I was saying we need more teachers, and it's not something like a public speech. Teaching is not merely certain things you can do by that. But in other things, you have to, so you are in no way to be blamed. You have your good qualities. If you are teaching 40 students well, even 50 and 60, we should not expect that you will teach 70 and 80 and 90 and 100 and 250 like that. Yes, certain topics can be selected for that if the institution wants, where you don't need that much individual interest, or you need not have the responses from the students. But I would say no. Ideal is that you must have a class of 40 or so, and a teacher should not be asked to have the energy enough to deal with 70 students at one and the same time and then get feedback also. But if it is otherwise compulsion around, because institutions do have classes which are very big, 80 and like that, then definitely that is creating a problem. And I think Dr. Preeti must be having some idea of it. When I joined IP University, they used to have a class of 80. But when I went to the classroom, I found that there can be comfortable sitting only for 60 students. And it's a matter of record that next year I allowed to admit only 60 students. And then when university was saying we are reducing the number of students, I said I'll start LLM, and there we will take 20 students rather than getting 80 students to sit on 60 seats. So that's how I would say. I think this is a question of more management of the class rather than the teachers' methods. And then, as we ordinarily talk of the skill of teaching, it's not on that. So you can't have the magic that way. Yes, if you are a poet, you can address 1,000 people in one go, and you will have a very good applause also. But when you are teaching law, I think we have to be very realistic in it. And even if you have very good skill, you cannot keep so many students engaged with you. You can't have them with focus. That's how I would say that if that's the situation, then I will only suggest that we have to convert then law into poetry, and then we'll have to narrate that. Everybody will be listening to it, But if we make it really the reading of the provision, analysis of the provision, then it will be very difficult to attract the attention of 80, 90, or 100 students in one room towards that. There will remain very big gaps from that point of view. So I would say have the confidence when you can have a good class of 40, maybe even 50, 60, and then I will also say, as I was saying, that you can have grouping, that when there is a larger class, then you can ask them to have the responses. You must always spare some time in the class, and then you make the students respond to your queries or what you taught, and like that to make them more attentive. That's there. And another one more thing is very important. That's if not in external this component of examination, but internal component examination must contain questions for which answers must be class based. What we study in class and how we do it, and what were the actual problems referred to, illustrations, our spatial talks we had. I think that internal examination should at least be on that. Though anybody may say, write an answer from another book like that. I think we have to, since this is internal assessment, and it should be expressly written in the question paper that you discuss this thing with reference to our discussions in the class. I think something has to be done from that point of view. Then till the time we will have a good teacher-student ratio of 1 is to 20, that's the ideal one. And at least, or maybe presently 1 is to 40, it should not be more than that. That's how we can do it.
Thank you so much, sir. I believe Sri Lata ma'am, one last question if you have. You have switched on your mic.
So, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Um, Whenever I give assignment problems, students usually skip the questions which are practical in nature, sir. Even if I give so many guidelines and I motivate them, in the class they will listen to, but while writing, they are not attempting those case studies or practical things, sir. So, please advise me.
I think you are doing very good thing that you give them assignments and all that. But I would again say it's a matter of culture that they take class for attendance, and their purpose is to get a certificate of qualification, and that's the big problem. They don't appreciate and realize that when you discuss something in class, they can gather a lot of ideas, thoughts, experience, and that would help them later on in the profession whenever they join it. I think that realization is not there. So I would say this is only because of this culture that textbook is available and they write answers from the textbook. And evaluation is also, as I said earlier, that if somebody is to evaluate so many answer sheets in one day, maybe 30, 60, and like that, our pattern of examination is just to give the qualification. It's not the something to give the skill and specialization. So that's Professor Latha, you are also suffering from that, and the students are in that culture. They will do like that. And then I have a story in our country when a teacher is asked to, or anybody, an expert is asked to frame the syllabus. Then he writes in the syllabus what he knows. And then, when the teacher is to teach, the teacher teaches what he knows. And when paper setter is asked to set the paper, he asks what he knows. And when the student has to answer, he writes what he knows. And all are going, there is no connection from the this syllabus framing up to the examination. Everybody is going in his own way. There is not a coordination. I think while framing the syllabus, it should not be, as we say, that there are 4 units and these things are done. It may be only 2 topics from a subject, which are, taught in such a way, or which are discussed in such a way that the student gets the ability to then discuss all, the topics in that subject or like that. And that's how we can be more focused. And we have, as I sometimes say, that in the class when I go first time, that I shall not be coming every day with a bowl of fried fish, but I can make you I can give you the skill of catching the fish, so that you yourselves have it every day. So if I make a student study Article 14, and I ensure it that he can understand it now, he can read it, he can analyze it, he can refer to the judgments, and then he can analyze the judgments. He can then also analyze the relevant legislations which have been made under Article 14 for the purpose of equalization. I believe that he can then understand Article 15 also, and then we may have those kinds of exercises. That this is the question of engaging the student. Otherwise, they will go by the general practice. You will ask them something, they have a textbook ready at home, and 2 days before examination, they start studying, and then you get an assignment ready with them. And I don't know whether in this country we can be very ruthless in evaluation also. It's a difficult task. So, Professor, don't be worried about it. You try to get the students with you, with your thought, with your understanding, make them feel that what's good for them. Proper response to the question is very important. As you can see how good student I am, I don't know answer to any of your questions, but I'm striving hard. No, I'm trying that I must reach to the point. I'm trying it. That's my achievement. That's my merit. That's why one of the professors, he was the vice chancellor for 10 years. He told me that a participant in seminar asked me a question. So I told him I don't know the answer. So I said, you are a stupid fellow. We never answer, no? We respond. You could have responded. Then he said, yes, Wani साहब, आप तो सही का बात कह रहे हैं कि मुझे तो response देना चाहिए था. That is, I said, this is, what you are supposed to know. And that's how I would tell you, Professor, that you be at it and make the students respond the way you want them, because you want them respond in such a way that they develop something within, which is not the imitation, which is one's own thinking, understanding. Sometimes you may read things from others also, but you have to then make those things your own by continuous reading, by understanding, but then reproducing them in your own way. That's how you can own some knowledge which you get from other sources as well. Try to develop that kind of attitude amongst the students, and I believe you'll be a successful teacher, God willing. Thank you. That's my response. I don't have answers.
Thank you very much, sir. For I have understood, sir. Thank you.
Okay, no, there can be, as maybe yesterday or the day before yesterday, when Professor Bakshi was speaking and I gave the vote of thanks, then somebody asked Professor Bakshi that how many questions you will take. But I said, when somebody goes to the well to drink water, well does not ask him how much water you will take. So Professor Wani would like to have any number of questions. I cannot ask anybody that you ask me only these questions. No. I would say if there is enough, as much water I possess, as much that, sweets I possess, anybody can have them. So I can't stop. There can be n number of questions anytime. And that's the thing. So God bless you. Thank you. And I think I should thank you for, coordinating this whole thing and then making me learn many things which I would not have otherwise attended that way. So God
So
bless
that's
you.
your magnanimity. As I've always heard from your students also, you are always very gracious in your talks and otherwise also. So we are really grateful that you took out this time. We've taken 2 hours out of your busy schedule. You addressed us, you addressed all our questions. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, God bless you. Thank you. Thank
Thank,
you so much.
thank you. Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
bye. Thank you.
Bye, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.